Assalamu alaikum and welcome to the Mamluks podcast. My name is Sim. Whoa. How y'all doing? Our guest today is nobody. It's just a roundtable of the usual suspects.
Oh, we're a bunch of nobodies, huh?
Roundtable of the brown table.
Sheikh Amr Saeed right below me. Ahlan al welcome. Sheikh Amr.
Assalamu alaikum. Roundtable with the brown table.
My man Morty out of Buffalo, on the top left-hand corner of your screen, and the host of Sultans and Sneakers, my man Mahin Islam. Assalamu alaikum, everyone. How y'all doing?
Islam.
We are in week 3.
Salam,
are we in
salam.
week 3 now, or are we completing week 3? This feels like Ramadan, dude.
Dude, you have no idea, Sim. I was just going to send out a message about that. I was like, guys, it feels like Ramadan.
We're doing a countdown to the end of our extinction.
Why did it feel like Ramadan? Because you can't do your haram stuff outside?
No, dude. So me and my wife and my kids were watching this new animated movie that came out on Disney Plus called Onward.
Yeah.
And I was like working out while I was watching it with them. And I stopped. I was doing body squats. I stopped. And I was like, because we weren't eating, we weren't drinking. I didn't eat all day and drink all day. And like everyone just seemed like really like, Ramadan spirit-esque. We're all reading Quran together, praying together, all of our jamaats and everything. And I was like, yeah, it's Ramadan, man. I can't wait for it to be Eid and stuff. That's just a thought that came to my mind. I was like, well, wait, Ramadan's only a few weeks away. I literally felt like I had this escape that I couldn't describe, that I was just literally in Ramadan.
Yeah.
And then I was going to send a message out to you guys, like, hey, do any of you guys feel like we're in Ramadan right now? But you just picked the words out of my mouth. Sim.
No, I don't feel like I'm Ramadan, dude.
I really do.
Well, I just feel like in terms of just the countdown, waiting for the end of this whole quarantine period to end, it's become. I don't think it's gonna last, man. I still stand by my words in the previous episodes that, people are willing to do it for a little bit, but within 3-4 weeks, people are gonna say like, forget this. We'll deal with the consequences. We need to be out and about.
Do you think that changed because more people are finding out now that young people are dying too? So they're like,
Yeah.
Well, I think there are people who are naturally, I know so many people who are just freaking the hell out, and I think they've taken this to another level. They're treating it like Ebola or something. Yes, it's dangerous. Do we need to quarantine and self-isolate and practice all the recommended things that the World Health Organization outlined? Absolutely. But do we need to treat it like Ebola, as if we're going to die if we go outside, or we're not, we're terrified of our own family or whatever? It's just, I think there's a level of hysteria that some people are exhibiting, not everyone, but some people are exhibiting this just terrible level of paranoia that I don't think is very healthy either. Yeah. Do you still take the precautions of hand washing and everything? Yes to all that. I'm not minimizing, delegitimizing anyone. All I'm saying is stop acting like it's Ebola. This is not Ebola. And it's driving me nuts that I'm just talking to people who are freaking out, and they'll like say like, well, people are dying, bro. I'm like, yes, people are dying, but there's 300 million people in the United States. All right. The chances of you dying is not very high. Let's take Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala out of the equation and just look at it on a data level, on an empirical level. I'm just saying, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala can take your life at any moment, and whether it's Corona, Ebola, or whatever, you can, when it's your time, it's your time. And that the mode of your delivery to the afterlife is inconsequential. So, it's just been a little bit annoying in that respect, but alhamdulillah, everything, in terms of being locked up and stuff like that, I've just been figuring out things to do. One of the things I always tell my daughters is that don't be bored. Boring people get bored. I got that from Men in Black. Who was that?
Yeah, I mean,
Who's
I think I'm
Will
going to
Smith's
take
guy?
a slightly different
Tommy Lee
approach
Jones, he
to
says
the
that.
Second.
He says,
I mean, like,
yeah,
look, dude. I know most people won't die from the corona, but there's a couple of things that people are not considering here. First of all, it's not just about you. There are people who you may be walking around fine, you may not die, but there are people out there who you have obligations to that may suffer from this. Your parents, young children, people that are immunocompromised, right? So just because the chance of you dying is minimal and slim, doesn't mean that you should ignore the very real possibility that others could be contaminated from you, and that they ultimately suffer from that either, right?
100%.
So part of being responsible citizens and responsible Muslims in our community is that we ensure that we don't harm anybody else around us. Whether that means taking active measures or shutting down the masjid for a little while or whatever it may be, mitigating the risk of it. The other couple of things we have to talk about too is there is evidence, first of all, of multiple things, like for example, of it altering genetic code, like being very similar to altering genes, like very similar to something which would be like a Zika, right? Where like they're doing some preliminary research and investigation into this, whether these things can alter genetic code. What are the long-term effects of people who have this virus? Are they going to end up with COPD even if they do recover? And furthermore, there's been reports out of China that people are being reinfected after recovering from corona. So is it just something that, yeah, you beat it once, but what if you get reinfected again? Are you going to beat it twice? You've already just went through an immuno battle with this virus. Can you go round two with it, right? And is the virus mutating? How soon will it mutate? Things like that all play a part into the severity of this virus. So while I get your sentiments that, probably more people right now are not at risk according to the data that we have, but we truly don't know the extent of how far this is going to be.
Hey, Sim, by the way, the comments, even I have it on my phone. The stream is like really lagging.
Really laggy. What can
I don't know
we...
if we can just keep talking, stop the stream. But
Yeah,
then
we're
recording out right after.
Yeah, we'll just put the recording right out afterwards. If it's laggy,
Okay.
I might be able to do some.
I'm watching the stream
tweaks.
right now. It doesn't seem laggy to me.
You probably got the best internet though. Everyone else, like even myself, I have like.
Well, that shouldn't
Wi-Fi.
that shouldn't have anything to do with it. It's our upstream that might be the issue, because this is one of the reasons why I wasn't doing any live episodes for a while. I was hoping, because I had an empty house right now, we could do a stream without any interruption, but we'll just go ahead and move forward, and I think we'll pull this episode down and put the good version up afterwards. It's just one of the realities
so we'll just
of
continue with the live stream, and then we'll just go ahead and swap it out later on.
Yeah, it's just one of the realities we have to deal with right now with the limited bandwidth that a lot of the internet companies are allotting to businesses and residential areas around the country. So it's just something we're going to have to be patient with until all this mess gets sorted out at the end of the month. So just hang in there, guys. You guys know that Mad Mamluk streams are always generally pretty good, and this is just a bump in the road. But yeah, Morty, you want to tell them about how we possibly had exhibited some symptoms?
Why don't you? So, me and Sim were joking around a while ago. We thought potentially we had COVID-19, and it sounded a bit funny, but thinking back on it, I really did think we had COVID-19.
Let's set it up. For months,
and so
I was going to the gym, and I had it in my head. I wanted to have an Olympic level of swimming ability. I was just practicing swimming like a maniac, and I think December rolled around, and I started just wasn't able to make any gains and start having a fever after my swim, and I started coughing. And to make a long story short, this happened for a few days, and I ended up calling a doctor. 2-3 doctors ended up getting involved because they thought it was pneumonia. They thought it was a chlorine poisoning because I was swimming a lot. And Sheikh Amr was once sitting in the car, and I was telling him like, "Hey, I can't breathe, dude, I can't breathe."
Well,
And
that's who went to Foes, right?
yeah, dude, remember it? So I didn't want to talk about this with you until because I wanted this natural reaction where you're going to be like, "Oh, that's when this happened." But anyway, yeah. So he grabbed his son's inhaler and he started, he tossed it my way, and I started puffing on that. We ended up going to the restaurant where we met with a few other people, and I was sitting in the car, shivering, unable to breathe, and I didn't want to talk. I didn't want to scare everyone. I didn't want to be the party pooper and ruin the thing. But I was like in bad shape. But alhamdulillah, it calmed down. By the end of the dinner, I started feeling a little bit more better, and we ended up hanging out and had some level of good time. But days passed. We ended up having a pulmonary exam and all these different things. They thought that, it could be some kind of COPD type issue. But alhamdulillah, like all the exams and everything came back negative, but they still didn't know what's exactly causing it. In this time period, little old Morty flies over to Chicago from Buffalo, New York, and we had a little powwow with a few other people from all around the world. Some Mad Mamluks fans came from abroad. Hopefully they're listening. Yeah, maybe. Hopefully, inshallah, those brothers didn't get sick and go pass it off into their respective countries. But we,
Scottish brothers.
yeah.
So what we're saying is potentially Sim could have been patient zero in Chicago.
Yeah, and then Morty posts this. Go ahead, Morty. Why don't you play it on his YouTube
When
channel?
was it? It was in December what?
December. What was it, Morty? December 12th.
when I had this.
Okay.
So wait, you want me to play this on my YouTube, or you want to play
No,
it?
play it on yours. We can all hear it.
Okay. Okay, hold on. Let me just set up.
So
the
this
audio
is
so you guys can
just
hear
in case anyone's out there doubting, oh, Mad Mamluks are trying to, capitalize and gain on the momentum of COVID-19. They want to play the victim card. First of all, we're not playing the victim card. We're just trying to assure people that, hey, this is something that's serious, but it's also something that you'll survive. You're not going to die. But go ahead,
Right.
Morty. Why don't you go ahead and play
this
it?
is from, by the way, December 11th. Okay, and I've come back making a YouTube, my comeback basically, or another
On Muzzy
episode.
Buzz.
So here's the audio clip from that. All that stuff, work being crazy and family life and all that stuff, and plus I've been down with this nasty flu for a little while. I don't know how many of you guys have had that issue, but I went to Chicago to visit my family. The kids got me sick, and I come back on, and like my throat was really dry. And then the next morning, I wake up and I've got this nasty cough, like bronchitis, almost, and nasal like fluid, and then it's just really, really bad. I got a fever, and I had to call off work for a couple of days, and I never get sick like that. Alhamdulillah, usually I don't get sick like that at all, and even now I got over it pretty well. I know some coworkers that have been out for like 2 weeks due to this flu. So it's a nasty bug going out there. And I think we kind of got an early start this winter season. Speaking of winter, yeah. So by the way, in that clip, you could kind of tell I was kind of winded a little bit. My voice was scratchy.
Yeah.
I was, you could tell versus my normal energy. So it definitely took a lot out of me to make an episode, but I just want to say I survived Corona, people. I survived it. All right, so
It wasn't the normal flu.
It could be. It could very well be.
Because I think, look, I'll tell you something. I think people, I think people that have the normal flu and have had this understand different how it feels.
Difficulty breathing is not part of the normal flu. Okay. When you do
not this kind of difficulty of breathing. Bronchitis, yeah, you have your lungs hurt when you cough. That's fine. This is not like the lungs hurt when you cough. This is where your lungs just hurt all the time, and like you're just coughing out. Let's put it this way: I was coughing out noodles from my lungs, dude. All right, it was like noodles of like mucus. It wasn't just like a phlegm it was like chunks, bro. It was like literally like
what
jello
color?
almost.
What color?
Out of it.
No, Sim. I remember when we were at Foes. You were like, that's why I got you the inhaler.
Dream is
dude.
fine now.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah. And I went snowboarding later on in February, you know, all kinds of exhaustive exercises. I didn't have any problems with asthma or, you know, lung issues. Like even after the pulmonary exam and the chest x-rays and everything that these guys ended up doing, everything came out. But the thing is, they did all that after all these symptoms subsided, you know? So, and I went to Colorado where I normally do, you know, a lot of the snowboarding and stuff. And that's an exhaustive exercise. That's all day. If there was, and it's thin air as well. So if there was a chance for me to have any asthmatic flare up, that would be an area where I would have probably exhibited symptoms of that sort. But all that sort, none of that happened. So we kind of forgot about it until I started talking to some of the doctors who I was talking about it initially. Like, hey, dude, is it possible that this corona thing was something I was being affected with in December? Because I was...
Well, there were some first cases in November.
Yeah.
And by the way, the reason why I noticed this is I wasn't even the one that noticed this. A commenter on my video left a comment a couple days ago saying that, hold on, what did he say? He said, you describe symptoms. Hold on, I got to sneeze, I think. No, okay. You described symptoms of the coronavirus before it even made the headline news. It came out back in November of 2019, I believe. And that's crazy. I hope you get better. And that was 6 days ago that guy made that comment. And I go back and I listen to the clip. And I'm like, oh my God, I described corona. Like, it was no joke. Like, I had corona.
Yeah.
Like, it was just, you know.
And not just that, you said a whole lot.
It's crazy how that guy recognized it like 6 days ago, right now, like today.
Right.
Like,
and then
Well,
you
let me
said...
ask you this. I'm hearing that they believe it started it mutated from the animal to the human in mid-November in China.
Yeah.
So how did, like,
or
Sim,
even
are you saying you were sick when the Scotland brothers were here?
Yeah.
Maybe they came in
like,
travel. Yeah, because remember when they came, maybe it came in travel. Like maybe Sim was kind of under the weather, and then they kind of brought it with the travel. They were asymptomatic. Maybe
The Scottish guys probably got y'all sick.
No, I got them sick. If anything, I was sick before that because I remember.
they
I
came,
remember
okay.
debating whether I should see them or
Who was the
not.
guest that you had in the show in November in the studio? Let's blame that person.
Who?
I don't know. Let's blame him. Whoever it is. Let's find out who it is.
I don't know who.
We're gonna blame that person.
No, it was probably the some of the Asian people who I sit in the sauna with. Bro, and I'm telling you, this is not racism, bro. I have a lot of it. Look, guys, it's not racism, okay? I spend a lot of time in the sauna with at my gym with a lot of Asians, okay? There's just a large Asian community. I've said this in previous videos. It's not something that, you know, I'm just bringing up in light of Corona. There are just a lot of Asians, and sometimes there's a cousin or two that comes from Wuhan, China, and they bring they bring the virus along with them. Why is that racist? Why is that racist?
It's not racist. I don't think it's racist.
No, that's not
because
racist.
you automatically assume the Chinese that gave it to you. Why couldn't it have been like the white guy? That
No,
went
because
to
it
Thailand
originated
and some kind of
in
weird
China. It's the
ladyboy
Wuhan
fetish
virus.
Came back
Just
in
like
the sauna and gave it to you.
Just like what? By the way, do you guys think? Okay, as much as we disagree with
because 2 months ago it was Maheen that was being racist, and now today it's Sim being. I'm appalled at your behavior.
Hey, look, I'm not calling it the Chinese virus, but I am calling it the Wuhan virus, okay? Because I don't.
China virus. I'm gonna be honest. You know why? Because I'll tell you straight up why. Because those Chinese government people try to blame America and say Americans came over there and dumped it over there. Nobody was calling it China virus, right? Until I support Donald Trump on that, because we were just calling it Corona, COVID-19, but the stupid Chinese government had to open their mouth and try to blame Americans for that. No, a-hole, it was you that sent that. It came out of your area, not our area, right? No Middle Eastern, protesting. They call it Middle Eastern respiratory syndrome. No one cried about that, so they shouldn't cry about it being called the China virus. It's China virus as far as I'm concerned.
Obama called it the Middle Eastern respiratory syndrome. How come that's not a problem, right?
It's Obama.
Right.
So
Obama,
so
exactly.
he's allowed to do it.
Daddy.
Yeah.
The long-legged Mac Daddy.
By the way, I mean, folks, this is not us being fans of Trump. This is called objectivity. This is called, scrutinizing what's actually happening, how these media sources and other other platforms, how they condition your mind to start thinking a certain way. Like, oh, yes, did Trump run on a platform of bigotry and racism? To a certain extent, yes, he did pull that population, but the vast majority of Americans didn't care about that dude. They liked him because he was someone who would upset the balance in the system. They thought he would be somebody who was just as crazy as everyone else, but he would throw a wrench into the system and hopefully cause enough of a disruption that the whole system would fall apart. But they're mistaken on that. In that sense, I think many people who did support Trump initially, I think they no longer do that now. But anyway, this is being objective about things. It's not necessarily that we're giving an endorsement to Trump or exhibiting any kind of support towards him. It's just.
So I don't know how Maheen and Amr feel, but to be honest, I think Democrats and Republicans both dropped the ball on this, dude. You had Trump calling it a regular flu, and then you had Nancy Pelosi telling people to go out and meet party, and New York health directors telling people to go out and go to Chinatown and celebrate the Chinese New Year. They were all they had no idea what was going on.
No.
They were all unprepared for this. The reality is that you can't ever prepare for a pandemic like that. There's nothing you could do. You can't store millions of ventilators. You can't have all this stuff on storage. I mean, people don't realize that the maintenance cost, the storage cost, the inventory, maintaining all this stuff is far too expensive for hypothetical situations, right? You just not get. This is one of those things that is Allah sends, and He's testing everybody. He's waking you up. Nothing you could do to, could have protected you from this right now. Nothing.
People are always, I think, have a tendency to want to blame somebody. There's like I had a boss that used to say, for any situation, you got to have a throat to choke.
Look, there is a person to blame in here, and it's China, right? It's the Chinese government, and we're not the Asian community, not the Chinese people. I'm sure there's wonderful folks in China. I have to throw these clauses in here whenever you make statements like this.
Yeah, because someone's gonna
but
get
I will
someone,
say this,
yeah.
Anyone. I don't eat dog. I don't eat bat. I don't eat rat. I don't eat none insects. But if you so happen to eat that crap, that's fine. That's your business. At least kill the goddamn animal before you do it. Don't let it be barking. I know it's not the majority of Chinese people.
Yeah.
Right? It's not. But for anyone out there, whether Chinese, Korean, Japanese, I don't care who you are, if you're gonna eat an animal, right, make sure it's dead before you put it into a pot. It shouldn't be barking at you while you're cooking it. Okay?
Oh yeah, that's the post that Ismail put up, right? That's what you're talking about. No, Sheikh, you're covering your face in terror. This is exactly what some of the brothers on Twitter.
It's not just Ismail, bro. I have like hundreds of these videos on my feed.
Yeah, some of the brothers
on my thing, and he's like posting the stuff over. It's not just dogs.
They're kicking. They're cooking the animal while it's alive, Sheikh. This is what the level of depravity is going on in the world, is that there are people, certain segments of the Chinese community, who torture an animal as they're preparing to eat it. They're essentially cooking it alive. You could see the animal, the dog, being boiled alive. Essentially, the cook is like throwing.
It was barking.
Oh my God! It was so disgusting.
What I'm saying is that,
are you
like,
sure it doesn't improve the flavor somehow? Maybe the mushroom.
No. So I look in this. What's the reason why they do this? They believe that the fresher the meat is, the better it tastes. So meaning it's fresh right up to the point you're cooking it. Right? It can't be more fresh than that in their minds. So the idea here is that they're gonna get fresh meat, but you have to be a certain degree of like cold, like, right? You got to be like, oh my, cold-hearted to just watch an animal suffer in a pan. Like, he's literally sautéing this dog while it's barking. Like, dude, you got to be a cold MF, dude, if you're gonna do that, dude.
Hey,
you know what I mean?
I got a question for you guys on that. I was thinking about this. Do you think it's because they're the descendants of Genghis Khan?
They're not.
They aren't though.
They're not. They're Han Chinese.
They were conquered by him. No. They were conquered
because
by him.
like the Mongols, I thought were trained to be like savages.
No.
So I thought that was like.
Actually, the Mongols weren't actually that savage.
That was their armies. Their armies had to travel long distances, so they would travel on horseback, and then after the horse couldn't go any farther, they would kill the horse, eat it, drink its blood for what's it called? What do you mean? To be hydrated?
Vitality, yeah.
Yeah, to be
But, I
hydrated.
mean, if you want to know the offering of the Mongols that are in China, they're probably East Turkestan. If anything, they became Muslims. If anything, right? They're not
Yeah.
going to be the Chinese. So no, they've been doing this stuff for a while. I don't know when it started, but all I know is that it's 2020, dude. You can, you can eat meat that's not alive, right? I mean, you can stop that now.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy that we as Muslims were kind of witnessing some of the discrimination that the Asian community is facing that while we were in their situation about 15 years ago, right? There are, for sure, without a doubt, there are a lot of Asians who are suffering in America and abroad by the discrimination that they're facing by everyone around them for the crimes that certain segments of their community are committing. So I think it is, it would behoove of us to point out that it is not all Asians. Most Asians are very warm and nice and loving people, just like any other people. May Allah give them Islam and guide them. And
So
that's
there's another element too. Keep in mind that China has a population of 1.4 billion people.
yeah.
You're not going to have all this food running around, right? So naturally, back when, they got to eat what they can find. You know what I mean? You're going to be
Yeah.
eating what you find.
No, I mean,
you find, bro.
Anthony Bourdain will show you, if you ever seen some of his travels to certain areas of China, you'll see him markets where they're eating ants, deep fried cockroaches, and like what?
Yeah, bro. But that's why my thing is not about what you're eating. My thing
Yeah.
is all about the humanity. Like,
Not just that.
kill the animal first.
You
Just
kill the animal and
do
then
it properly.
handle
I
it
mean, be
handle it
hygienic
properly
about
too.
it.
When you
Yeah,
handle
I'm saying like the wet markets should be done, right? You shouldn't be out there just, there should be some kind of, and apparently, now suppose I can't validate this, but apparently China has now, prohibited wet markets. They're saying
they
no
did
more
that
wet
before
markets.
too, Morty. They did that before about when the initial SARS, the first strain of SARS came out in the early 2000s. They banned all these wet markets back then, but still slowly but surely. And it's not even a very large part of their economy. I think it's like a couple $1 billion. When you look at the Chinese economy, it's a drop in the bucket. But they opened
And it's
it back
in rural
up.
areas. It's not like in Beijing or it's not in the major cities.
Vox
It's like
had a
in rural
great
areas.
video explaining this, and Vox showed exactly how China lifted the restrictions off of these markets, where because these types of foods are eaten by many of the upper class of Chinese society, these people end up making these laws kind of ignored or reversed. I don't know whether they repealed them or whatever, but eventually they stopped enforcing the law, and these wet markets started creeping back up all across Asia or all across China. So it's important to consider that not just you humanely handle animals, but if you're going to eat bat, don't eat bat. Don't eat. But if you're going to, at least wash your hands after you handle the raw meat. That's where all the viruses are.
I really feel anytime you see an Asian person, people are making jokes and stuff like that. I was in Aldi the other day and you see Asian people, they have their mask on and people are walking away from them. Like you could sense it in the air,
Yeah.
I felt kind of for them, bro. I was like, man.
Yeah, don't go beating up some random Chinese person. Or
Forget about beating up.
because-
Just they're not. They're
No,
regular
I mean,
people
a
here.
lot of them have, especially in America, have no connection with that culture. They've been born and raised here, just like you and I. They eat Burger King and McDonald's, whatever else
Yeah.
they eat. They're not eating no bats and rats and whatever, right? They're just normal people who eat normal food. So take a chill pill. You don't want to start, marginalizing people. So just chill.
Yeah, I know a lot of our Chinese areas in and around Chicago. They're really suffering. The Chinatown and stuff like that. They're
It took a major hit, bro.
yeah. But have you guys thought about? I mean, at least in terms of your jobs and your well-being in the immediate future. Are you guys? I'm more worried about that than anything. I know a lot of people were freaking out about this virus and stuff, but the economy is going to hurt, man.
Yeah. So alhamdulillah, the company that I work for, luckily, is in the food and beverage industry. So we're actually making money. Like we're just busy as hell right now.
Yeah.
So alhamdulillah, we're not. We're part of essential business. Um, but I've always said this though, that the number one devastation that's going to come out of this is not the people that die. I mean, yeah, we feel bad, we feel sad that they pass and that people will be sick, but the economic devastation is going to be horrendous.
Yeah.
I mean, just look at the unemployment: 10 million unemployed, applied for unemployment.
What are the
last
job
week.
numbers, Morty? Didn't the job numbers just come out?
I didn't check them, but I know 10 million
It's like
people
4%.
filed
I
for
thought it
unemployment,
was something
right? And
ridiculous.
that's like it jumped from like 2 million to like to like 6 million and to 10 million. So I mean, just put it this way, dude. There are many people in America, in the world in general, that live literally paycheck to paycheck, week to week, right? If they miss one day of work, yet alone a whole week or a month, like they're not paying their bills, like they're not eating, right? Their children are not eating, right? Can you imagine what that would do to a man and make him desperate? Like, at that point, can you blame him for doing any kind of criminal activity to feed his family? I couldn't. You know what I mean? Like in that situation, if the government cannot take care of you and they're fighting about how to give you stimulus money and how much money, and 2 months come down the line, what good is that money 2 months down the line when you're starving already right now? You know what I mean? Like I can't, so those kinds, what I'm saying is, what I'm doing is I'm painting a scenario that is perfect for, like I would say a revolution or some type of rebellion, right? Usually all rebellions start with poor people with poverty, right? Economic hardship usually is a trigger for a rebellion.
Yeah.
And what better way to make a rebellion when the entire world economy is at a standstill? Like how, what better time?
It got me thinking about a lot of the hadith that are related to the end of times that are outlined in some of the books. Who was that? The teacher of Bukhari, bro, who compiled a lot of these hadith, Sheikh.
I'm lost.
Compiled.
He was one of Bukhari's teachers. He compiled a lot of these hadith into like some of the end of times books. Man, I always forget this guy's name.
Oh, Noman.
Yeah, Nuaym bin Hamad.
Yeah, Naim bin Hamad. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Yeah.
So he was he has a lot of his stuff out there, and some of those hadith are. I would love to hear someone like Jonathan Brown's thoughts on those compilations that he's done related to the end of times, because some of those hadith have
called Kitab al-Fitan.
Kitab
and
al-Fitan, yes.
The thing is, so the thing is, a lot of actually scholars have commented on this book. Unfortunately, he's not considered to be that reliable in terms of this, and so they discredit a lot. But I will say this much: I've had a glance at it, and I'm the muhaddith, but there are a lot of hadith or hadith in there that are like you read them and you're like, oh my god,
we're living in those times, because when
like
you
that
hear
happened
about
right
the struggle among princes, you read
there's
about
one I remember about. I was specifically in Mecca during when they were completing the Jabal al-Umar project, and they were there's a particular hadith was mentioned in the book where it talks about that Mecca will be split open. They'll be dividing crevices. They'll be making crevices through and through the mountains and removing mountains, and that's exactly kind of like meaning Mecca will be split open. Essentially, that's kind of what happened. Like they had to bring in geological teams before they were blowing up parts of the mountain because of the instability it would cause in that region, right? So, I mean, I read that. I'm like, oh my god, is that something that could be true? But then again, we kind of got I don't know how much Amr knows about that.
No, but the fight of the princes, Morty, when you look at what's going on in Saudi Arabia and you see MBS arresting his brothers and other crown princes or other high-level princes, you find out that, oh man, maybe is it possible that this was the thing that this hadith is alluding to, that there is going to be some kind of inner power struggle or fight over the throne. And that those kind of things, because these are all events that are leading up to the coming of the Mahdi, right? And we know that among all the minor signs that have exhibited themselves through what the scholars have compiled, all the minor signs have already come to a fruition, but this one last sign of the Mahdi. Mahdi is considered a minor sign, by the way. The minor sign of the Mahdi appearing.
You know, one thing that's really been in my mind is, and we've talked about this in a previous episode. You remember Mahin and Amr, we talked about the Neom project in Saudi Arabia?
Yeah.
Yep.
And that is in very close to the province of Medina. It's and the thing is that it's actually in the province of Tabuk, okay? But the area where they're building it, the furthest part of it, south, is literally maybe like I think a couple 100 kilometers from Medina al-Munawwara. So I'm thinking like, man, is that like the seat of a Dajjal? Because we know that the Dajjal he'll have a palace outside of Medina, like not inside of Medina, but outside. So I look at this stuff, I'm like, man, is this what's happening? Like, are these events like unfolding? Like, and this kind of reminds me of that thing, and I think you've mentioned this before, Sim, in some other episodes. But when Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, when he came to Medina, it wasn't just like he came randomly. Allah had put a certain series of events in play, in motion, prior to him. Like certain things had to have happened. Like Al-Aus al-Khazraj had to have a fight. Like there were certain things that were a backdrop for him coming there and them accepting him, right?
Yes.
So I'm wondering, like, are these events that are taking place now, like, are they backdrops for a new?
Are they
revival
laying
of
the
a government?
groundwork?
For example, like the distrust of the people in their government, the distrust of the financial system, right? These kinds of things, right, is building up to people looking for something as an alternative.
Morty, when you look at the trillions of dollars that they've amassed or they've, accrued as their national debt, and you see these artificial methods of how they've propped up their economies, you wonder to yourself, how long can they ride this out? Fooling the system, just borrowing trillions upon trillions of dollars, and saying that one day we'll pay it back. We don't know who, and we're promising our constituents and our electorate that we're not going to raise their taxes, but then we're keep on borrowing trillions upon trillions of dollars. How does this work out? How something's got to give. You know what I'm saying? And then you're saying that you're going to keep corporations within your respective countries without taxing them. So you're not you don't want to tax your own people. You don't want to tax the rich people, the 1%, but somehow you want to pay for all the money you're borrowing. And then on top of that, all the speculation that's happening in the markets related to all the various technologies that are existing, whether it's Amazon or Netflix or Zoom meetings is now the new place where everyone's throwing their money behind. Did you hear about that one other company called Zoom that wasn't actual Zoom meetings? Zoom is for those who don't know, Zoom is a platform that's used for doing video conferencing. This is the same platform that we're using right now to stream out to you. And what's happened is that some other company named Zoom got had a similar ticker sign, and their stocks went through the roof.
Or like Zoom Team or something.
Yeah, and they had to shut their ticker symbol down or something to stop it from.
Yeah.
But isn't like the audio recording company, they make the audio recorders, we use the Zoom H6?
No, that's a different. Yeah, that might be the company that got their numbers inflated. Yeah, the Zoom H6.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, but I mean, I think the bottom line is that what we can figure out here is that people are showing an extreme distrust in the way the government is handling their affairs, their money, and even the financial system itself, right? And these are recipes for two things: rebellion, and these are also preconditions of a new type of system coming about. Right. And that was pretty much what happened in Medina before the Prophet came there. So could these be signs or events that Allah is putting in place for some type of change to come? Allahu Alam. It could be, it may not be, Allahu Alam, but I find it to be very interesting that it seems like everything is happening in a domino effect, right? Like you have President Trump that comes in, the popular vote doesn't like him, but because of the Electoral College, he gets into power. Half the population, more than half, is dissatisfied, right? then you have like these wars that are going on prior to him, right? Most of the American people don't want these wars, but they're dying for
There
it.
is that one war that still needs
Huh?
to happen though. The Al Malhama Al Kubra, the Great War, World War III needs to happen. That's one of the things that was prophesied in the Hadith, that there will be a great war that happens between.
Yeah, the Malhama.
Yeah,
Right, right. But what I'm saying
literally,
is,
yeah,
we're
but
still, I
yeah,
mean, we
you
haven't seen that right now, but what I'm saying is that these events that are happening right now and that are making people feel this vulnerability, this discontentment in their government, in their people, this dissatisfaction when they look at their own lives, it's like they're becoming ripe for something to change.
yeah,
Do you see what I'm trying to say? Like,
absolutely.
I mean, for a while, like, everything was good, right? You made it to America, you made it to the West, everything was fine. You had your rights, you got a job, you got educated, you got married, you settled, no one could tell you anything. But now you find a hand, like it's hanging by threads, right? Like just because of a virus, we're too dependent on China, we're too multicultural, we're this, we're that. I mean, so many things that are just so many pressure points in society for different groups. How much can it bear? Or how much load bearing are we doing here?
And not just that, and everything is connected too. The whole system, like if I can bring on a panel of economists, and we won't get anywhere because just the system is so complex and has so many bearings and mechanisms to it that you can't really talk about anything in a very meaningful manner, because a discussion about something so complex has effects all over the place. Just like how you pop in a medicine for any ailment, that medicine has all kinds of different effects throughout the body because it's disturbing a certain level of equilibrium in your body, right? So it's similar when you make a change to something in the economy and economic policy, or the recent trade wars that have happened between Trump and China. Who knows whether something compelled China to not want to release or be transparent about what was happening with the COVID-19 virus, and it makes you wonder, like, well, why wouldn't you? You've been open about virus outbreaks in the past with when the initial coronavirus SARS in the early 2000s came out. You were perfectly transparent. Everything got handled, and there were a few thousand people who died, but it wasn't something where it was a risk to the world economy, the geopolitical structure of the world. It almost seems like, to me at least, that China wants to shuffle up. When you're losing a game of chess and you're losing to an opponent and they're getting frustrated, they just knock over the chessboard, like or they like shuffle it around.
Right.
So
you know what this translates to a layman like me?
Yeah.
If you have, when you look for economists or poli scientists that will sit there and try to decipher what's happening, and they cannot come to an agreement, and it becomes even more convoluted, it tells me that we're just in a screwed up system. Like,
No.
You're like, oh, what the hell is going on here, right? You just throw your hand up, like, I give up. You know what I mean? Like, you're like, I don't trust any of you people, right? Because every side, it seems that it's not like they're loyal to the people or for a good cause, but rather for their own political agenda or whatever institution they belong to. And you begin to see that, right? Because you see that they passionately argue for one or the other, right? And that leaves the layman in the middle even more confused, right? Because these are conversations that happen with people who have a certain understanding or at an academic level,
Yeah.
right? Not for the common guy working a regular job who doesn't understand all these concepts.
The common guy, I'm glad you brought that up, because the common guy is now building up these conspiracy theories about PSYOP operations or 5G, taking over people's bodies. I don't know what the hell that. Whenever these nutty conspiracy theorists start yabbing, it's so mind numbing that I just tune them out. Because there's so many problems on so many levels of thinking. Forget about the conspiracy theory itself. It literally causes pain in my brain trying to figure out where they're actually coming from and deciphering their idiotic thought process.
It's fear. It's coming from a place of fear and complete, distrust in everything. Because when you're so fearful, you become so skeptical of everything around you. You can't trust anything. right?
Yeah.
Everything becomes a plot to get you. Everything becomes a plot against you, right? You become almost neurotic in this, right? You're just completely paranoid about everything around you. I mean, that's one thing good about being a Muslim. Alhamdulillah, we believe nothing will affect us unless Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wills that affects us, right? I mean, that's one thing that grounds us, right? That no matter what these people plan, yamkuruna wa yamkurullah wallahu khairul makirin, right? We believe Allah is the best of planners, right? But some of these people who don't have that foundation, right? They believe that their Lord is disconnected from their daily lives, or they don't even have a Lord. What are they thinking about? Right? They're running around like chicken heads. Oh my God, this person's gonna kill me. The government's gonna kill me. The water's gonna kill me. The 5G is gonna kill me. Oh my God, the blacks in the country are gonna kill me. There's, I mean, they're going crazy. They're going nuts about everything. Right?
Did you just say
can't
chicken
just have
heads?
a normal day.
Yeah.
All right. So are there any questions in the comment section or the
No,
chat?
there was a war. I had to mute somebody. His name was Seaman something. I don't know. He was starting
Seaman.
a war, but I don't know. Hold on. Watch the one come. I'm trying to read here. Welcome back, like a traveler. Sahih Luke. Okay, Ismail. Nah, the system isn't screwed up. It's fixed, completely fixed against us. Serious and deleterious. Okay. Well, I mean, yeah. I mean, we can argue about the economics of it all the time. But again, that's gonna be a long conversation that most people like me, like laymen like me, are not really gonna benefit from. We just know that there's a lot of distrust in the systems that we have right now, and people. And I think the current situation is a reflection of that, right? People don't trust their banks and their governments. MMA. Do you think UFC 249 will happen? Well, I know Habib is not fighting. Russia won't let him out. So the beast is in the cage right now. But Tony Ferguson, apparently there's rumors that that Conor McGregor is going to fight him. Will that happen? I don't know. Dana White has got to find a spot for it to happen. I mean, where it can house less than 10 people. I don't know what's going to happen. I mean, if it does, it's going to be a completely remote event. And I think if it is going to happen, it'll be between Tony Ferguson and Conor McGregor, which I think in any case will be a good fight. If it
That
does
will be a
happen.
fantastic fight, dude. I would pay money for that. But
Yeah, I mean, I pay money for every fight, but that would be something I definitely would watch. But speaking of Dana White, apparently he was named in some extortion crime where like he was being extorted with some kind of porn video. Did you guys read that?
no.
Apparently someone was trying to like extort him for money. He was involved in some kind of weird video.
Did they identify
he
the
was named in some
perpetrators?
Las Vegas case. Yeah.
Were they like mobsters or what?
I don't know. I didn't have a chance. It was in the headline, actually.
Well, Dana
my headline.
Dana
on
likes to
Google
party,
News.
so it's not very hard to. I mean, what's he got to hide? What are they trying to extort from him?
No, it's probably it had something to do with some kind of sex video.
Oh,
He was
Something
in,
like that.
They're saying Dana White was in this video.
Yeah, and apparently, like whoever the party was, I think they had caught the party that was extorting people, but he was one of the people named in the case.
okay.
So apparently, he was a victim of this extortion.
Oh, okay, cool. As long as he
You know
didn't do
what I'm
anything
saying?
illegal
Yeah.
or
Yeah. There's a question for Sheikh Amr. Sheikh Amr, somebody asked, what can any recommendations for being productive while we're quarantined?
Yeah, man. If you have a family, I think it's one thing. If you don't have a family, I think that's a separate protocol. If you're living alone, right? Just to start off, I think that a lot of people are worried. I personally think that this whole incident that happened, I think it's a purification. I think it's a beautiful thing that's happening. That's just me, though. People think I'm morbid for saying that, but I think if you're with your family, this gives you opportunity. You're forced to stay with your family, and you have to teach them. You can't just be watching movies, like 3 or 4 movies every day. Eventually, even as a parent, you're gonna be like, man, why am I just doing this with my kids? I have to be teaching them something, right? Like a different relationship that I think that can occur, which is happening with me, is that I'm able to read a lot more Quran with my kids. It doesn't just have to be my wife now when I'm at work or whatever the case is, right? So I'm spending a lot more time with them, a lot more guidance for children. They see a lot more of you. You see a lot more of them. Like the way I see my kids now that I've been with them for like 3 weeks, barely leaving the house. Dude, like a week ago, we left just for a drive with the windows down, because it was nice and warm outside. Bro, it was one of the best moments I had in my life, bro.
it's awesome.
It was amazing. Just driving inside of a car because they're all happy to be out, it's like little puppies just running around when you take them out of the house.
Yeah.
But I think when you're with your family, the best thing to do is, man, number one, priorities. Priority, priority, priority. Islam settled the priority for us. Take care of your wajibat, i.e. the fard. Pray all of your 5 prayers with your kids, man. There's no magical answer, I don't think, that exists of how to make your time more productive. This is if you have children. Make it a point to pray your 5 daily prayers with your kids, man. Wake them up, pray Isha with them. In between, if you can just give them a little bit of nasiha, talk about something. It's usually, the reason I'm saying that is a lot of times people, they want something that no one else is doing. They want to do something that no one else is doing because of this, need to be a little unique.
Like a hack?
Yeah, but the main thing is, man, if you ask me, bro, if you're living with your kids and your wife and kids and you're quarantined, man, yo, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala set the standard for all of our priorities. Our priority number 1 is taking care of our fards. Next, after that, then you can take care of your important sunnahs.
Yeah, like refutations of Ahl Bid'ah.
You have to make sure.
Number 2 priority.
That's hard too, right? I mean, isn't they say the backbiting the innovator is wajib, right?
Yeah, dude, it's just So and
after your 5 prayers though, then you go to the PDFs.
One of the beautiful hadith of Rasulullah is like, min husni Islam al-mar'i, the most beautiful type or version of Islam is tarkuhu ma la ya'ni, leave what doesn't concern him, right? What doesn't concern him, and obviously the other side of the spectrum, is making sure that you stay away from the muharramat, those things that are haram in the first place.
Muharramat.
But what concerns you, muharramat means those things that are
I thought that's a month.
That's muharram. Very good. But if you're living alone, dude, there's so many people. It depends on which what you do, and if you're working from home, if you don't have a job, if you lost work. But there's so many videos and so many series online now that people are putting out there, even like on Fridays. Like if you always wanted to just say, don't think of 3 or 4 subjects. This is what happens, right? Because shaitan can play with knowledge too. Oh, you should be doing this. Oh, you should be doing this, and you end up not doing anything. So, like for instance, somebody brought up a really, really good idea, which was, just finish like something as far on YouTube. Just finish 1 series of Sirah, right? I don't know if you guys ever heard of Sheikh Yasir Qadi's Sirah, for instance. It's a very detailed Sirah.
Yeah.
Right? I think it's like 300 something episodes, right?
Yeah, but I canceled him after his like a garment class.
Yeah.
That's fine. It's okay. But his Sirah, it's a very beneficial Sirah. Cool.
He liked the fiqh of love. That's what Mahin
So if
likes.
you're living
Yes,
alone,
Sheikh Walid and Fiqh of Love is like.
but I'm saying don't take too much on your plate. Do one thing and then finish it, dude. Do it like the Mauritanians, man. Just take one subject, finish it, and do the next. What happens is when you're like, what's happening to me the other day, man? I had all these books. I'm like, oh, I'm reading this. I'm like, oh wait, I should be reading that, bro. At the end of like 2 hours, I probably read like 10 pages, where I could have read like an entire book, and that's
Because you're like analyzing which book to read. Just sit down and like.
So just stick to one, book and hey, Mahin, you know what? And this is for the readers. Remember that book you gave me of Carl Newport?
Deep Work?
Yep.
Yeah.
Anyone who can read, the first thing you should read in this quarantine is Deep Work, because that book is about quarantining yourself, and that's what all the greats ever did. The best ideas that ever came about was people quarantining themselves without any distractions for at least an hour to 2 hours.
Yeah. This is one right here.
Bro, Carl Newport didn't. I don't even know this dude, bro. But
Cal Newport. How do you not know Cal Newport? You're the one who told me about Cal Newport.
And that's how I
he
know
said
about
before this book, because we went to Jersey, remember a couple years ago, the Safina guys.
Oh, right. Okay.
Sheikh Amr, I let him borrow this book. Because I was reading on a plane, I finished on the plane, and then he's like, hey, can I borrow it? Because he needed something to read, and he started reading it, and he just...
Guys,
so what's the main takeaway from that book, though? What's the main takeaway that you guys would want to pass away?
I just said it to you, bro, and I'll say it again.
Yeah.
But one thing I'll tell you, if you really have a good relationship with your creator, any book can be a book of Islam for you.
That's what he said?
That book was probably one of the best books I've ever borrowed from anybody in my life. One of the best books that I've ever borrowed.
Well, but to summarize, what the book teaches you is that, like, being able to we live in a world where distraction is everything. Everyone's distracted, right?
Yes.
And to be able to do focused, deep work, to get into flow, it's like a muscle, right? Because for example, You know when you first start, Sim, you've been reading now, right, for a couple
Yes.
years. You remember when you first started reading?
Couple
you
years.
were
I've been reading
10
since I was a
minutes?
kid, bro. Go ahead. Okay. Yeah, go ahead.
But you talk about like you read all these books, like it's ramped up, so to speak.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah. I amped it up.
You remember when you would read in the past, it'd be like 15 minutes, you get bored, and now you could probably read for a couple hours straight.
But now, you know what? I realize one of the reasons why I have much more retention of whatever I read is because I connect everything I read back to things that we can talk about on the podcast and things that relate to things, other guests that we've had on the podcast. So the podcast has...
Sorry to cut you
yes.
off, but what that comes down to is learning something for the sake of teaching it.
Yes.
It's a prophetic method. That your avenue of teaching, your platform, which is where I think you found your calling in this world, is this podcast. I personally believe that about you.
About you as well, all three of you guys.
What it is, though, is it's you learning something. Whatever you learn it, you have to make sure that you teach it to somebody. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give you a platform to teach it on, which is why you're retaining everything.
Yeah.
But that was the prophetic method. You learn something, right? بَلِّغْ عَنِّي وَلَوْ آيَةً. Teach about me, even if it's one verse.
Yeah.
Another way of understanding is one sign, right? One thing that Rasul said to them.
You know, I'm gonna be honest, Amr. Me and Sim have this policy. We just fake it till we make it. You and Mahin are smart. You know, me and Amr me and Sim just fake it till we make it.
Says
Right,
the
Sim?
senior DBA.
That's our whole college life, bro. Fake it till you make it, bro.
Says the senior DBA.
No, Morty, I hate that saying now because there was this guy who was a pretender at one of my jobs who would always say that, and he was really faking it till he makes it. And we at first we were just like, haha, just like laughing along with it, but he literally was faking till he makes it. And it made me like it turned my stomach whenever I hear that term now. So
Really?
I make bara of that statement that you.
Oh wow!
I do not.
I make bara.
But
I
there is a
disavow.
truth to that fake until you're making it too, though. You know, like in
No, I mean it comes with conditions, right?
Yeah,
I mean, if you want to get yourself in the door, you have to
smart, bro.
continue to learn.
Mahin, I don't mean to throw you under the bus, bro, but I think you and me are equally not smart. Okay, this is this
What are
is
you talking about? Mahin's an engineer. What are you talking about, bro? Aren't you like an engineer, Mahin?
The engineer.
That's my degree.
Do you guys remember the engineer Yahya Ayush from the 1990s? He was one of the first
Why would you bring that
Palestinian.
up right now?
Bro, he was one of my childhood heroes. He was part of the resistance movement of the Palestinian of a Palestinian
you remember
group.
that guy Sirhan who killed like Bobby Kennedy?
No,
back
that
in
one.
1970s?
Yeah, he was a secular though. He did it. Yeah, and he's part of the Ahlul Bidah and the innovators.
The Rawafid?
Okay,
No.
wait a minute. Now
What's
we're
that term
talking about
that he
conspiracy theories.
uses?
Wait, hold on. Now since we're talking about this crazy stuff right now, there's a question in the room. Sheikh Amir, what do you think about Imran Hussein and his recent now focus on him because of this whole quarantine stuff? So before you answer, Amir, I just want to say something. It's one thing. I've always said this and I stand by this statement. Sheikh Imran Hussein is the Alex Jones of our ummah. And I believe that with 100%. I like the guy in some ways, but some of the stuff he says is just off the wall nuts to me when he says it.
But
Go
guys,
ahead.
look at the timing on this. This message I sent to Sim at 5:20. I wanted him to bring up something about Imran. Oh, can you see it on here? It's not focusing. I sent this in our WhatsApp group so Sim could see it at 5:20. Right now it's 5:41 while the podcast is going on. The name of this video on YouTube is Abandonment of Hajj by Imran Hussein in 2020.
MashaAllah.
The name of the video is basically they say that Imran Hussein was right the whole time about abandonment Hajj in 2020, and he gave this lecture I think in 1990 or something like that. Right?
So Fadl, go ahead, tell us what you think the whole thing.
I personally think Imran Hussein, I think he's pretty well read on political issues. I like some of his stuff, but I think a lot of his stuff, again, I think you said it best. Some of his stuff is very outlandish. I personally think he's very sincere. I don't think he does it for publicity. I think he reads into things better than most people do as far as political issues are. But at the same time, yeah, I don't agree with everything he says. Some of this stuff is just really outlandish and out there. But the things he's right about are very intriguing.
Yes, without a doubt. Now, the thing is, like, you can't, with a lot of people talk about this whole cancel culture thing. Imran Hussein has a lot of things that are right as well.
Wait, I think to make it very clear before you go there, Sim,
Yeah.
just to reiterate and hit this point home, I believe, like Amr believes, that Sheikh Imran Hussein is sincere in what he's doing. Like he really believes that he has studied the science of Akhir Zaman, and he's trying to relate. You can't fault him for trying to relate a hadith, whether they be weak or strong, and trying to make that relatable to people of this time, right? Because the Prophet ﷺ did try to talk about these issues for extended periods of times with the Sahaba, right? Because it was important, like about a Dajjal, about that fitna, about things like that. So what he's trying to do essentially is nothing that is new to the Muslims, but yeah, some things may sound a bit off, but again, these are just interpretations. He's never telling you that he's 100% right and that his works are binding. So I just want to make that clear. I'm not disrespecting. None of us here are disrespecting him. We just understand that some of these things may be his opinions only, and that they're not binding upon us, and sometimes we can reject them. But nonetheless, we still believe that he is sincere and that he is trying to do something good for the ummah.
Yeah, alhamdulillah.
He's plagues in the past, but like this intrigued me when he said that in 2020 Hajj will be stopped, and this was like in the 1990s, dude.
Yeah.
Because of a sickness and because of oppression and because of he talks about a whole bunch of different things. And he says that from that there's going to be a war that comes after that. You guys can watch the video. It's only a 5-minute clip.
Yeah.
Those you guys are watching. So I personally think.
But why don't Sheikh? Can you post that in the comment section so that the listeners can see that after?
Also, is there a way to adjust your? People are complaining that they can't hear your audio, Sheikh Armor, as well.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah. So Sheikh, I'll get you a new microphone because I don't think we're going to be out of this situation very soon. So we'll get you
the Logitech that Sim told me to get. So.
No, we told you to get the Logitech webcam, not the microphone, sir.
No. This is a Logitech. It's a Logitech webcam.
Yeah, the webcam. Yeah, that's what we're saying. You get
He's so adorable, dude. But Sheikh, the webcam, you turn off the built-in microphone. You don't use that built-in microphone for it.
Yeah, you listen to all the listeners. I thought you have to understand that Sheikh Amr is still living in Egypt, circa 1995.
Mauritania, bro.
Mauritania, yeah, he's still living in Naqashut, like in like. So all this technology is like
he's
the
Naqshat 9000.
Yeah, no, but he's like, so all this technology is new to him. Like we had to teach Sheikh Amr that's what smartphones.
Wallahi, guys, when he came back from Egypt, I said, I feel like I'm talking to a time traveler because he came back using the same jargon that we used in the 90s, like the slang and stuff. And I'm like, who am I talking to? He came back 10 years later, just still speaking the same old way.
I remember the first time when we came back from Egypt, man. I was with Amr in the airport. And he comes out, he changes his clothes, and he's wearing like these cargos, and he puts like this safari vest.
Safari vest.
What are you doing, Amr? He's like, oh, I gotta freshen up. I gotta look nice. I'm like, bro, take that vest off. What are you doing?
Hey, can you guys hear me clearly right now?
Yeah, we can hear you clearly. It's just
it's the people in the list.
By the way, guys, I want to recommend because we were talking about productivity and things. Sheikh Joe Bradford sent this my way. Actually, put it on Twitter. There's an app called Daywise, and it schedules your notifications. So, a lot of people who get notifications all the time via WhatsApp and stuff, you can schedule your notifications. Maybe you don't want to be so disconnected from your notifications that it's hours between notifications, but maybe you want to do it every half hour because these days you're incessantly checking your phone repeatedly over and over again every 5 or 10 minutes. Sometimes there's people who are on social media, social justice warriors, who will cause drama in your life, and instead of you spending time with your family, you're spending time debating with these knuckleheads and trying to explain to them that you're not a racist person. Put that aside. That's for another episode. But Daywise will help you turn off these notifications from these losers.
Anti-Palestine, aren't you?
I am anti-Palestine. I bet you they didn't even know who that guy was I just mentioned earlier. Those little fake emo SJWs. Get out of here.
They probably weren't born when that dude was doing his thing.
Bro.
I know, right?
Yeah.
If I can talk about Palestine, oh man, just freely, openly.
Yeah, I know. I mean, again, you know what? I will say one thing.
Yeah.
As much as I always look at the age of some of these people because I don't want to take away that passion. right? I understand being that age and being overzealous because
we
that
were
age,
stupid like that too, right?
Yeah, we were like that too, right? Where we thought everybody else was a sellout and a cop out, and like they didn't have the balls to go out and speak the truth, right? Everyone feels like that when
Still
you're
feel
young.
the same way.
We do
I
kind
feel that way
of.
about you, but not everybody else.
Ain't
No, just
nothing
about you. Just about you, not anybody else. No, but the thing is, like, you mature, right? You end up seeing
What did Sheikh Yasser Khadi call them? Neophytes.
Yeah.
Neophytes.
Yes.
That's
Right.
just like worse than the F word, dude. You neophyte, man. That just made you feel small.
And so I don't want to come down too harsh on them and take away that passion for justice and passion for the right, the justice within Islam, within that framework. But at the same time, they sometimes they have to also be humbled and taught, that, hey, the world is very different than how you perceive it. All right. So,
Morty, remember that
I
lady?
think,
Shut up your mouth, Obama. You sent me that clip long time ago.
shut up your mouth, Obama.
That's,
shut up your mouth.
if you're under 30 years old, shut up your mouth, okay, Muslims? If you're a 20-year-old or 20 to 30-year-old Muslim, shut up your mouth.
Yeah, that would be probably the advice I'd give myself, especially when talking about Islam. If I was, even now, I think most of us, Amr has the credentials, but I think even someone like me, who's a layman, when it comes to specific Islamic issues and detailing and labeling people, I hope I'm able to restrict my tongue, because those are the things that get you in trouble later on. How many times have you gone back in life? And I remember just even looking at myself and some of the things I used to say, and I look back at them now, and I'm like, wow, what a stupid person I was. Like,
bro, wallahi, before I started, before
Mark,
we started
want
this show.
What do you mean? We want examples.
Before we started the show, any scholar I talked bad about, I went about and I apologized to them directly, in person or over Facebook or whatever I could. But it wasn't. I wasn't like one of these.
I'll give you an Amr. I used to crap on Hamza Yusuf. I used to be like, oh, what a sellout, he's a government agent hands. I used to call him all these kind of names, right? I would just, and as I got older, I realized that, hey, I was stupid. I'm the one, even though I disagree with something he says, this person, I should not be attacking him like that. I can disagree with someone and agree with other things that he said. And I don't know the kind of progress that people go through and the things they see and the things they witness and what their intentions are, right? I mean, life is so much more complicated than that. Right? I mean, it's easy. It's very easy. The best way to shut your Muslim brother out is to label him with a title and then ignore that and not have to deal with the issues that he's bringing forward.
Yeah.
And for
I remember.
Go
ahead. You finish this point. Look, so Sheikh Hamza's interesting. My dad, when I first got into the deed, like Sheikh Hamza has been like on the scene for like what, since the 90s, right? Even before. So he used to be Isna keynote. So I would tell my dad like, hey, my dad would be listening to him, and I'm like, you should listen to him. He's like, why not? He's like, he's an Ash'ari. and then he's like, what does that mean? He's like, he believes that Allah's in the toilet, A'udhu
Yeah, oh my
Allah's
God.
everywhere, right?
No,
I would say to my pops, like, my pops is a layman, right? And you're like, or I would meet people that like, at random Muslim who's barely praying, listen to Hamza Yusuf's tapes. I'm like, you should listen to him. He's an evil person. He's a deviant.
Yeah.
Right. And I'm like,
and the thing is, I'm thinking to myself too, because a lot of this stems back to what you just mentioned.
Right.
Amr will tell you this as well too. Like, I used to always ask him questions about Aqidah stuff, and I could tell at that time Amr would be like, "Why are you so worried about this?" Right? And it didn't make sense to me at that time, right? But now it does. But like, I would just always say, "Oh my God, these Ash'aris or these Maturidis," or and like I'd be like, "Yo," and I would literally be writing post, and this is back in the days before like chat formats. Like, I would be writing 10 pages.
With the camouflage pants.
Everything, bro. I'll be out there like trying to, I was on a Tawheed jihad, bro. I was out there like, bring the Ash'ari down to their knees. You know what I mean? I was out there.
They will submit.
Yeah. And then after a while, you just kind of grow up and you're like, wait a minute. Like, the fact that no matter what happens, the fact that person says La ilaha illallah Muhammad Rasulullah, none of us will know the true reality. Al-Haqiqa, until we die, we meet Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But Allah will look inside to what you understood and I'm saying this comes with wisdom and it comes with understanding, it comes with growing older. I'm not saying I'm any wiser, it just comes from experience.
Yeah.
Right? There's certain thing Allah gives you and blesses you with age, and that's wisdom. It's not like you earned it or you deserved it. It just happens, right? It's part of growing up. It's part of becoming older. You've seen the world and you can kind of understand it in a different perspective, right?
That's
and part of that
So I'm
Right,
not
and
sure.
part
I'm
of
not
it
sure I
is-
gave that app's name. By the way, it's called Daywise.
Daywise.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, day wise. This is Sim's ADD coming up. This is why I'm patient now.
No,
Like,
no.
normally I would blame on Sim. I've become patient with Sim's ADD, right? So, anyways, back to the point is that
Other
the point
people
is that-
haven't. They gave up. They canceled me.
The point I'm saying is that you come to a point when you get older and you start to appreciate the other side, and the way that you become wise and the way that you become understanding is that you learn to listen more and talk less. And I've learned that.
Hey, I got a question for you. So in 10 years, are you gonna be the same? Are we gonna be the same thing about the roll outfit?
No. But no, honestly, no. I will say I changed the general layman among them. I don't
Yeah.
hold anything against them. But
Okay.
for someone who comes out openly and says,
Right.
they start insulting the honor of the Prophet's wives and the Sahaba, like there's a clear line in that, right? I mean, no one's
No.
gonna deny that. Yeah,
رضي الله عنهم ورضوا عنه.
yeah, exactly. And
Okay.
the Quran is clear.
What do you guys? We talked enough about religion, man. What are you guys doing to waste time?
Oh, I took up painting, man. I started learning how to.
Oh, yeah?
Well, I've been
Productive,
I've
though.
been
That's not
painting
wasting
for.
time.
I've been
I'm talking about,
painting.
what are y'all binging on, dude?
Oh, what about Tiger King?
I've been.
Have you guys watched Tiger
King?
King or no?
Wait, I didn't watch that. I watched Man Like Mubin.
What,
Dude.
Morty?
That's my
Tiger King
guy.
is right up your alley, dude. You love
Yeah, but-
crazy people.
No,
Oh, you love it.
I know. I'm gonna watch it, dude. But I heard about Don't F with Cats.
Oh, that's
Tiger-
crazy.
Yeah.
Did you watch that?
No. I
Dude,
gotta watch
Amr,
it.
I just finished it the other night.
That
I
was
remember you
awesome.
recommended it like a couple months ago. And I
That was
was
It's a harami.
like, yo, that was wild.
Oh,
Don't
yeah,
F-
I gotta
what's
watch
it
that.
about?
I've been watching.
Is it a
Karim
documentary?
Usman, the new like the thing. I'm into like 7 episodes of that. Been watching that a little bit. But really, to be honest, I've been doing some like Udemy stuff. Like I've been wanting to do. I told Sim early on there's certain technology that I wanted to, I thought we'd capitalize on, and I've been trying to do that a little bit more, Microsoft Azure stuff. And then me and Sim have been wasting time. I mean, on Modern Warfare. So if any of you guys out there play Modern Warfare,
Yeah, hit us up.
and
My gamer tag is Wolfskin Boots. He's Abel
Yeah.
is.
Drop
just-
zone. Just hit me up. We'll play. I haven't been playing the last week. I've been kind of trying to be a little productive, but I'm gonna start again. But I mean, it was literally for the first 2 weeks of the quarantine. That's all we did. Like even during work meetings, and we were playing it all times of the day.
Guys, it's such a fun game because it's like you're collecting money, right? And then there's 100 other people on the map who are trying to take that money from you. So the team with who gets to $1 million first, they win the game. But so you have all these cars and other vehicles and stuff. It's like a movie. You're in a movie, so you spend some time in the beginning, collect a whole bunch of money, and then you have to get rid of that money because you're carrying it around. And you have to deposit it and call in a helicopter to come pick up that money, or else if someone kills you, you lose all that money, right? They'll take that money from you. So there's like people who are camping out at the place where you're depositing the money, trying to jack you before you can deposit it, and then there's like all sorts of other crazy scenarios that happen that literally are scenes from movies like Heat, where they're just running around with big duffel bags and of money, and you're trying to get rid of it. It's so fun.
So as you can tell, Sim is very
Yeah.
excited about this game.
Yes.
It's fun. It's and
it's free.
So if you want to
It's
waste some
free.
time and be haramis like us, just add us on.
Dude, maybe Haramis like a.
Also, for those of y'all who are old enough, this is what I felt really old. This week was the 30th anniversary of the Ninja Turtles movie release.
Oh wow!
Wait, what?
The Ninja Turtles, the original movie from 1990. This is
Oh,
the
go
movie-
Ninja, go Ninja, go.
Go
No.
Ninja, go Ninja,
That was
go.
Turtles 2.
Oh, was it?
Oh, was
That was
damn.
Turtles 2. Turtles 1 is like the first one. Was a 30-year anniversary.
Oh wow.
Wow.
Wait, yeah, and I was like, dang, I'm old. But I watched it with my kids the other day, right? 1 and 2.
I did watch it again, by the way, on Netflix, like the original one.
Right, it was on Netflix.
Because I saw it, I'm like, oh my god, like
Yeah.
it brought back so many memories, dude. Like I
Yeah.
miss the 80s and 90s. Dude.
Oh
miss
man,
that.
I saw the toys that made us from on
Oh
Netflix.
yeah, the '80s one.
Yeah, they showed all these
Oh my
different.
God, dude.
They were so
Dude, I
awesome.
had all those. I had like Legos. I had Transformers. I had GI Joes. I mean, all kinds of games like Hungry Hungry Hippo, Monopoly, Sorry, like all
Shark
these.
Attack. Remember Shark Attack?
Yeah, Shark Attack. Guess
Battleship.
Who? Like, I mean, so many Battleship was it? Connect Four. I mean, so many. Like so many cool games we had like in the '80s and
But
'90s.
Sim, you were more into like reading comics, though, right? You were a comic.
I
book
was a
guy, right?
big comic book head.
Really?
It's so
Is that why you're
crazy.
a
Like
guy now?
you remember the guy we just had on the last
Jerry.
episode, Jerry. Me and him,
Yeah.
like our interests are like aligned, like scary on a scary trajectory. Like we have the same interest in everything. The only difference is that the guy needs to have his own freaking podcast, and
No, but
I
you know what's
gotta get
crazy?
him.
You guys live,
I
if you
think-
live in Philly or he live in Chicago, y'all could do something. Or
Inshallah,
y'all could
we'll
do both,
see.
to be honest.
But you know what's crazy? Like, sorry, Mahin, you weren't in America in this time, so I can't really include you in this conversation. But the thing is, like in the early '80s, like you weren't here.
Oh yeah. Well,
Yeah.
Y'all were like 2. Y'all only like a couple years older.
Yeah. Yeah. So the thing is, like, for us in the early '80s, like, Sim, I remember, like, man, it was awesome. Like, you could just ride your bike, go to. People don't understand like what's like riding to an arcade and getting tokens,
Yeah.
and like playing arcade games and winning prizes, or like going to a Pizza Hut, a Pizza Hut, and having real pizza and sitting down at a Pizza Hut buffet. Like they don't realize what that means. Like, you know, or playing the Pac-Man while you're waiting your food.
Yeah.
Like that,
Morty,
that whole
Morty.
culture-
I told my dad. Now he's in the 60s. I recently opened up to him and I told him where all the places I would ride on bike to. I'm like, Dad, you know that one place all the way across the town, and that's where I would take my bike to. And he's like, what? You guys were doing
Yeah.
this? And he just blow his mind
Remember
that.
White Hen Pantry Mort?
Oh my God, dude! No, forget that, dude. There was Budneys. You don't remember that? There was Budneys in the corner of Ardmore and Roosevelt. I used to ride my bike there all the time and get those stupid little eggs with the yolk, with the caramel yolk in them.
Oh yeah.
Mr. Budneys, yeah, that was in. No, but the thing is, like, I used to ride my. Remember baseball cards and comics on Roosevelt Road? You remember that place? I remember one time I stole my mom's credit card, bro, and I rolled over there on my microphone and my bike, and I brought like this whole like upper deck, like the whole box of cards, not just like one pack. I brought the whole thing,
Like the case.
right? Yeah, the whole thing, right? And the guy's like,
Do you still have them, by the way? Those cards are back.
I do. I got him. I got a Michael Jordan card. I
Remember
got
they used to
Shaq
come with little
rookies.
sticks of gum inside of it?
Yeah. No, I
Yeah.
got Shaq rookies. I got Chris Webber cards. I got all of them, bro. I got an old school Michael Jordan card, Barkley, you name it. Anyways, point being is that when I was getting them, he's like, "Are you sure you're supposed to be buying this?" 'Cause I'm like a 12-year-old with a credit card, right? He's like, "Yeah, my mom's in the car. She's in the car. She's coming to come get it." Bro, I remember he gave it to me. I was so happy. I rode home with this bag tied on my front wheel, bro, and I'm trying to hide like from my mom. There's a whole box of cards, bro, and it was a crazy, like, that was the most important thing in life at that time,
Yeah, get
right?
cards,
You're like,
man.
it was fun, man. Like you would go out and do, like, you would trade these things. You would try to, like, I mean, it wasn't so much like the internet culture was there. Like, I don't think you understand. Like, imagine like living like okay, put it this way: Karate Kid was kind of like how people grew up, right? You wanted to study just little martial arts. You wanted to go to the arcade. You wanted to go to the pizza parlor, right? It was like a kind of a life like that. Right now, movies are so different than the way people lived, right? Whereas now it's kind of like, you know, you get so nostalgic when you go back and think about those things. Life was good, man. Like, it was really good in the '80s. Like, it was just a fun time. I can't describe it. Like, people who weren't born then won't realize it, man.
So for the record, I came to the U.S. in '84. I was born in '81.
Yeah, but you were still
still
learning
thinking
English,
about
right?
that.
So you couldn't appreciate it. By the time you learned English, it's like 1990, right?
Get the
So I watched Ninja Turtles with my daughter, right? And you know the one scene where Michelangelo smooches the TV because April
Yeah.
O'Neil's on it.
Yeah.
And so,
Yeah.
so my daughter's like, "Hey Abu, well, why did he call April a babe?" And then like Casey Jones is like using all this kind of like, he's like toots
Yeah.
and babe, and he's like,
Hey,
"What's
hey,
toots?"
Mort, I'll bring you back some food nostalgia. Remember Pizza Hut by Yorktown? How big that Pizza Hut was, bro?
Oh my god, dude! And we used to go there on like a Wednesday evening. It'd be like a buffet. You
Bro.
go in there, unlimited pizza. It was like
That
$7.
That Pizza Hut was huge, bro.
It was
Yeah.
it was legit pizza before it became commercialized, man.
was.
Yeah, it was legit. Like, people understand, like, food quality was good. Like, I remember you could go to a McDonald's or Burger King and eat, and it was like legitimate food. Like,
Like the Big Mac was huge back then, right?
yeah. I mean,
Compared to,
things
it's like
were
half
just
the
like,
size now.
Yeah, but not only that, like you had other things, like you had like TCBY that you don't even have around right now. Like you just had things that were different. Like you going to a movie theater was such a whole experience, right? Because there was no Netflix, there was no, you couldn't download movies, right? Like you have to plan to go out to a movie theater,
And not a lot
and
of
it
people
was
have
like an
cable
event,
either.
right? I mean, but these things were like just, and I feel like a lot of times, in a lot of ways, Sim and maybe, I mean, obviously, of course, mine and Namer, like, but you had to be so much more innovative in how you had fun. Like, I mean, it
Yeah.
wasn't, there was no internet. Like, you had to go outside and like, I remember we would record like stupid little film skits with my dad's camcorder to be outside, right? Just because we were bored, right? Like, burn figurines on fire with like WD 40 and
Yeah,
like,
man.
lighters.
Make
I
a
remember I
whole
built like a
story
tree house.
around your toys. Dude, I remember
Yeah,
I remember taking all my toys and just making a whole story of like something you'd have from a movie. Just putting that, and when I used to bust out a lot of the toys for my son, like that creative process wasn't there, and I would have to tell him like, hey, let's make a story around this, and it's like, okay, and then you could see the gears working, that where you have characters and a plot and some kind of conflict or
the
over,
imagination, right?
so
Like right now, you're taught what to think. Like like nowadays, like kids
you're
are
just
just watching
consuming.
things and they're not really taught. Like they're playing these roles that are already ascribed for them, right? Just whereas when we were younger, you had to make your own role. You had to like I was gonna build my own tree house. I was gonna go into the creek and scavenge around, and
Yeah.
you had to just do these things that ride the bike, take an adventure. Try to find a new way to get to that 7-Eleven or to that Walgreens, right? You had to just take adventure, right? Well, now you just can't. It's just not that way anymore, dude. It's just not.
Yeah.
I don't know if the world's different, but life was just fun, man. It was just fun. It was different. I mean, going to the park was just a blast and a ball. Like we
Every
just,
day, you had to go to the park every day, bro.
yeah. I mean, it was
If
just
the grass was wet, bro, you just played touch football. That's all.
yeah,
It
we
was.
played touch. I remember we go to the hood every day, man. That's where everyone be playing basketball, be playing football. Like there'd be something going on, some drama. That mobile gas station by the house, you just ride out. But that was just where everybody used to meet up. You had nothing to do, just find somebody hanging out over there. Nowadays, it's like, man, you just want to WhatsApp somebody or like Twitter somebody
Yeah.
or it's just
Yeah.
not. It just wasn't what it is now. It's a different era, man.
Yeah,
It won't
for
ever
us,
get
When Ward says the hood, he's talking about my old school neighborhood. All right,
Surrey.
that was the hood.
Surrey Drive.
Yeah, no. In Ohio, we lived on the street where the masjid was, so everyone would hang around the masjid. The masjid had a basketball court. Even the mushrikeen would show up there and play with us, right? They would,
Who are the Mushrikeen? The Hindus?
nah, like the people who worship Jesus Christ.
Oh.
Wait. So wait, is this the conclusion you've had after like actually having your sessions with your priest friend or your Christian friend? They're all
What?
Mushrikeen now?
I mean,
Is
aren't
that the
they?
conclusion?
I mean, is
I
it a
believe they
shirk?
were. I thought you were building a common bond with them. I don't
I
know.
thought you
call
were-
them
No,
Mushrikeen.
I mean,
People of the book or
they're
something.
Mushrikeen still. I mean, they cool. They're really nice folks, but like.
Like, I thought you were building a common bond with them.
I don't know. You think I go to Bible study? I do this. Maybe it's getting soft with them. I don't know.
Alpha.com Bible study.
All right, guys,
Yeah.
we gotta wrap this up.
No,
Let's
no,
start-
but like we would have like, but we got in trouble because the masjid would have like pop and stuff, right? Like for like iftars and whatnot. So the masjid we opened, so we knew where the stash was. So we would take the case of pop and throw it across the parking lot, shake it up and throw it, and they would like bust the cans open on the pavement. And then one dude who used to teach karate caught us, and he was like, "Now tell your pops."
All right,
Yeah.
guys.
Man, good episode, guys.
Good episode. Thank you all for
Take us home,
joining.
Sim.
We're gonna go ahead and re-upload the correct or the higher quality version of this episode. Folks, help us out on patreon.com/the Mad Mamluks. The social justice warriors think that we're making a living out of this and we're living it up. That is far from the case. We barely have anyone to even work the cameras here. There is just little old me trying to work on the cameras while we're talking and trying to present to you some kind of a level of entertainment, a community. We need your support for this to become a place where you all can come and just be accepted for who you are. So, again,
By the way,
for
Sim,
all
stream quality was good.
for all,
It was actually
yeah.
it fixed itself.
Alhamdulillah, that's great. Folks, please keep some of our scholars and people who we have leaders in our communities. I don't want to reveal their names, but they've lost loved ones, people who their brothers and things like that. Keep them in your du'as, and this virus, we can use it to better ourselves. And like the Sheikh said, this can be a time where we can come out with a net positive as a result of this. But yeah, stay safe. We'll see y'all next time. Assalamu alaikum.